Zabora here. Please forgive the way I sound. I'm a bit sick still. My husband brought home a cold, and of course I caught it. So I may cough and stuff in the video. Just ignore it. Um, so Hellbound Heathen kind of inspired me to have a look at Now You See TV, and because he said he was gonna do his own little debunking video. And since you guys love it when I do debunking videos, I figured, hey, why not do a little Now You See TV as well? So I just typed in Now You See TV in Egypt, and this is the first one that popped up. Now, we're not going to be doing the whole 1 hour and 32 minutes that they ramble on and lie about in ancient Egypt. Um, I'm just going to do about a minute here that he talks, and he tells a lot of lies in the short period of time. So I'm just going to let him say his bit, and then we'll go ahead and we'll debunk it, okay?
All right. Well, in this show tonight, we're going to be talking about ancient Egypt. And one of the phenomenal things about ancient Egypt is that when the pyramids were built, the oldest pyramids are the most refined, and the newer pyramids, they are inferior to the oldest pyramids. Now, this isn't the way things happen unless the civilization begins with a jump start of ancient knowledge. And I believe this was the case with Egypt. And in the Egyptians' records, they claim to be privy to the pre-flood Atlantis knowledge. And this is the antediluvian wisdom of the fallen angels that I do.
Okay. That's a whole lot of bullshit in a minute that he just rambled off. Number one, the oldest pyramids in Egypt would be the Bent Pyramid and the Step Pyramid. The Step Pyramid coming first, being built by Imhotep the Vizier to King Djoser. King Djoser was the third dynasty king of ancient Egypt, so we're talking some 5,000 years ago. The next pyramid to be built was by King Snefru. And King Snefru, if you remember, is the one who inspired the story of Moses parting the Red Sea, supposedly. I guess there was either a slave girl in some stories or a wife in some other stories of Snefru's that lost a hair clip or some kind of turquoise valuable trinket over the side of a lake, over the side of a boat into the lake. And she was very distressed about this, and Snefru ordered his magician to retrieve the bobbit. So the magician folded the lake in half, picked up the bobbit, and returned it to the king, making Snefru the hero. This is supposedly, again, what inspired the story of Moses and him parting the Red Sea. These pyramids, the Bent Pyramid and the Step Pyramid, are nowhere near as grand as the Great Pyramids that you find in the Giza Plateau with the Sphinx. These are later designs, and there is an obvious improvement that you can see. Now, the Step Pyramid isn't a true pyramid as it was built in pieces. Originally, it was supposed to be a mastaba, which is a flat roof structure with curved sides. But Imhotep, through his great vision and architect skills, built the Step Pyramid. It started off in pieces, like they built a layer down, stacked up a few, then they built more foundation, stacked up more, and then they built more foundation, stacked up more, and it was like a 3-stage process to get this thing into the giant structure we see today in Saqqara. But we wouldn't call this a true pyramid. The true pyramid that we see that comes next would be the Bent Pyramid. And the Bent Pyramid, again, is nowhere near as grand as the Great Pyramid in the Giza Plateau. It's not perfect. There was a design flaw in it. a lot of people like to point that, oh, look at the Great Pyramids and see how grand they are, and if their calculations would have just been a little bit off, it never would have worked out. And that's very true, and you can see that in the Bent Pyramid, where their calculations were off, and so the Egyptians had to redesign their pyramid and start to lay their stones at a different angle in order to complete the pyramid and come to that perfect point that they wanted. These are not marvels that came from ancient wisdom. This is a trial and error system. It's like when people claim that the obelisks were obviously alien technology and there's no other way to have it. It's like, well, we have an obelisk, the cracked obelisk, that was never finished during Queen Hatshepsut's time, so we know that that's bullshit. We can see how they would have carved out the stone using dolomite, rocks as hammers. The second thing would be that the story of Atlantis comes from one guy, Plato. And in Atlantis, it is said that they worship the god Poseidon. Well, Poseidon is not an Egyptian god. The Egyptians certainly had gods of water. You have Hapi, who is the Nile flood itself, or the Nile itself. But he's not a god of the sea. He's a god of the river. They didn't have a sea god, really, that I'm aware of. You guys can correct me on that. Leave comments down below. Anyway, the story of Atlantis comes from one guy in Greece. Thousands, and I'm talking thousands and thousands of years after the pyramids were built, because King Dozer was the first king of the third dynasty. So this was 5000 BC, 4700 BC. So it was quite a long time ago. And you don't see the Greeks start showing up until the Middle Kingdom, Second Intermediate Period, Late Kingdom. Eventually they take over in the Ptolemy periods after the conquer of Pharaoh Alexander the Great. So this is a lot of bullshit, and it's taken me how long to explain it? 7 minutes to explain all of his lies. That's why we're not going to go ahead and continue this video, at least not in this this installment. Maybe I'll continue it when I'm feeling a little bit better. But yeah, there you have it. The Great Pyramids are not from Atlantis, the made-up story by Plato. I know a lot of people like to point to the Eye of the Sahara as a possible location for Atlantis if it was a real place. I'm personally just not buying that. I don't think that there's enough evidence, although it is quite interesting to look into conspiracy theories. You know, it's not really, it doesn't have any real substance to it, in my opinion. So there you have it. The Great Pyramid didn't come first, they came later, and they are the result of trial and error due to the kings and the viziers that came before. That's it for tonight, guys.